is Irwin Zalkin, IRWIN ZALKIN. I'm with the Zalkin Law Firm. We are out of San Diego and New York. Our firm has represented survivors of childhood sexual abuse over the last 20 years. We've represented hundreds of survivors. To my right is Ross Leonidakis. Ross is an attorney with the law firm Nix Patterson. The spelling of the last name is Leonoud, D as in David, Akis. That firm is notorious right now. They just got a $38 million judgment in a case out of Montana involving sexual abuse of a Jehovah's Witness child. We've called this press conference today to announce that we filed yet another lawsuit against the Jehovah's Witnesses, and in particular against the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses. These 8 gentlemen that run the entire world organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, make the policies for the Jehovah's Witnesses, dictate all of the practices of the Jehovah's Witnesses and their elders, their congregation elders. Their elders, their construct is a little bit different than other Christian denominations. They have kingdom halls, not churches. They have a body of elders that operate similar to a priest. They have ministerial servants that operate similar to what a deacon might be. And all of the instructions and operations come from the very top. So we're suing the organization, various levels of the organization, as well as the top 8 guys called the governing body. Now, for years, we have been pursuing litigation against Jehovah's Witnesses because they have a pervasive and a severe problem of child sexual abuse within that organization that they've been covering up for decades. Early on, we discovered that they maintain a database of known child molesters within the organization that dates back decades. We have received court orders for them to produce those documents, those molestation files, which they have refused to do. This has gone all the way up to the California Supreme Court and back, and they still refuse to obey court orders to produce these documents in a form that they can be used and be understood, so we can see the level of knowledge that this institution has had about abusers within their organization and the cover-up that's been going on for decades of known molesters. I want to give you just a little example. In Australia, the government there just conducted an investigation and released a report in 2017 that showed that they had discovered among a population of 67,000 Jehovah's Witnesses that there were 1,800 children molested and 1,000 molesters. Now extrapolate that to the United States, where there's about 1.5 million Jehovah's Witnesses and some 14,000 congregations. You can do the math yourself to get an idea of the scale of this problem. And they do have what I refer to as a crisis of silence in the organization. They're extremely secretive. They keep themselves insulated from the outside world. They view the outside world as being impacted by Satan, not to be trusted, that the institutions of the outside world are governed by Caesar's law, and that if they have any issues, any problems, they need to go to their elders. And everything is kept within the organization. And that is the big problem. And that's why children are getting molested and these are going unreported, these molestations, despite the fact that in most states they are mandated reporters under the law as clergy. They don't report. Now they'll tell you, oh, we don't discourage people from reporting. We even encourage people to report. But the reality is that people won't report because they're indoctrinated that they are not to bring reproach against Jehovah. They don't go to the outside authorities because they're taught not to trust outside authorities. Who would you go? Why would you go to law enforcement when you can go to the righteous elders and they will take care of the problem? The Problem is they don't do that. In the case before you, we have our client, Kevin Ramirez, who is a very brave young man who's come forward publicly using his name. He's not a Doe. He's not hiding behind a Doe designation. He's here with the courage to use his own name and to go public with this lawsuit because he wants the world to understand what has happened to him and what is happening to other children within the Jehovah's Witnesses. Kevin was born in 1993. By the time he was 6 years old in 1999, he came under the wing of an elder in the San Dimas Spanish congregation of the Jehovah's Witnesses here in LA County, a man by the name of Humberto Ramirez, not related, who became his mentor, became his Bible study teacher. The children are taught that they are to obey and trust the elders above all, which he did. And soon after that relationship developed, Humberto started to groom Kevin into performing sexual acts with Humberto. And that grooming involved telling Kevin that, you know, Kevin, these are the things you have to do because this is what will get you into a paradise ever after. The Jehovah's Witnesses believe in an end of days, and if you live in their world and what they call the truth, and you remain clean within the truth, you will live in a paradise on earth ever after. And a 6-year-old child whose family is indoctrinated in that belief will trust that if he doesn't obey, then that's not going to happen, and that's what happened to Kevin. He was abused for a period of 6 years. I'm sorry, from the ages of 6 to 8. In 2001, when he was 8 years old, he told his parents, he reported this, and other kids. What happened was they started having a conversation with other kids that he knew Humberto was hanging around with, and then they started talking and they started comparing what was happening to each other, and then he told his parents. They went to the elders. The elders conducted their, what they call a judicial committee, a tribunal, and they disfellowshipped Humberto, which is sort of the equivalent of an excommunication, but he can be reinstated if he applies later. But they didn't go to the police. No one told the police. And as a result, this young man has never really received the justice he deserves. He's suffered a lot in his life, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about what he's gone through as a result of this, of the sexual abuse that he experienced. And the purpose of this lawsuit really is to get him the justice he deserves through the civil justice system. That's all that we have left now, and we're going to do the best to get that for him. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add it takes a lot of courage to do what Kevin's doing here today, and Kevin will tell you he hopes that by speaking up and bringing this to the public's attention, he not only will bring recognition to what's happening within the Jehovah's Witnesses, but encourage others to speak up, because it's not easy. As Erwin mentioned, our firm, Nix Patterson, has represented victims of sexual abuse involved with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and we are excited to team up with Erwin and the Zalkin firm. They've been doing this for a long time. They're one of the best there is at it. So we're honored to represent Kevin and to team up with the Zalkin firm and hope to bring this issue to the public's light and continue to represent victims across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to change? I think
It'd be good for you to sit there.
Yeah, that's better. You should stay for sure.
just tell them a little bit about your story.
You can move forward as close as you can to the mic.
Thanks.
Well, my name is Kevin Ramirez, and I was born into the religion of the Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, growing up, you are indoctrinated and you are taught to trust these elders with everything. Like you said, they are your mentors. They are the equivalent to what a priest would be in the churches. So everything started with Bible study. I don't know how other people start, but my case started with Bible study. And he got the trust of my family, he got the trust of other families to go out. So as time went on, it went from Bible studies to service. They call it preaching when they go door to door. And that's when the molestation happened. You know, and thinking back now, when I say all of the things that happened, I think that he was grooming me, he was prepping me for other things that, you know, as a kid you would have never thought of, but looking back now, it's some really dark stuff.
How's this affecting
The way this has affected me now, it's practically every time I drive by a Kingdom Hall, I feel disgust because you never know what's going behind closed doors. You never know if other kids are going through the same thing. I suffer from, like, you know, anger problems. Like, I just start thinking about stuff that happens and
Can you describe any of the things he did or?
dark thoughts. He would fondle, he would touch, and vice versa. He would make us touch him. He would tell us that these are the things that we need to do, or if we don't do them, we won't make it to what they call paradise. So, you know, being indoctrinated as a kid, you think that paradise is real. You think this is gonna happen. So I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody from school. I didn't tell my family, because my family weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. So I didn't really talk to them about things.
Ken, was there a particular?
So that's when I decided to go tell my parents. When, you know, like my other friends, like we talked amongst ourselves and we decided that this was something that adults needed to know was happening.
Sir, over here on the left, I didn't quite get your name.
My name is Kevin Ramirez.
No,
Ross Leonidakis,
Can you spell that last name?
Leonoudakis.
And in resolving the Montana case, did that go through the entire legal process, or did you settle at some point?
No, we had a verdict reached last fall, and we're actually arguing that to the Montana Supreme Court next month. So it's on appeal right now.
And aside from justice in this particular case, is there any monetary figure that you're looking to gain from this? Is there anything else?
the main reason for bringing these lawsuits, the first and foremost reason is to bring attention to what is going on within the Jehovah's Witnesses. At some point, will there be monetary compensation? Well, this is a civil case, not a criminal case, and the only kind of recourse we have is some sort of financial accountability. So at some point, yes, we are going to do our best to get Kevin a fair financial resolution to help him through the rest of his life, because the harm that is done to children by sexual abuse is lifelong, and it's insidious, and it appears and rears its ugly head at different times in a human's life and causes havoc. So he's going to need help for the rest of his life, and we're going to do our best to get him that.
Kevin, you mentioned your friends you spoke with. I assume you're talking about other victims. Are you hoping to encourage others to speak out? Do you know of others who you're hoping will speak out?
You know, I would encourage anybody who has similar stories to speak up. My two friends, well, then friends who I tried communicating with them through Facebook, I couldn't find the other one, and the other one didn't want to take part of this because he's still in the religion. So I'm assuming he's indoctrinated to the point where he's scared to do anything outside of the religion.
When did you leave your religion?
Oh, as soon as I turned 18.
So your family was also still part of it, or are they still part of it?
No, not anymore. Nobody's part of it. They call it PIMO, which is physically in, mentally out. So that's what I was practically my whole life. Like, I read through the lies. I knew it was all a facade. It was all fake to me. I never really believed anything.
So you, even during after you made claims to your family members?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you still did Bible study and kingdom?
Not with him. I didn't really do Bible study with anybody else after that.
Stalkin, if there's one key to winning a case like this, what would you say that it is?
The truth. Exposing the truth. Once people hear the truth, it's a natural consequence.
They've thrown many, they continue to throw barrier after barrier
Right.
in front of you, and from those barriers, including claiming they have the right to not speak to the law or to law enforcement. Among those issues, what's the main one to overcome?
Well, right now, our main battle with them is to get these molestation records that they have, this database of records that they have that go back decades. I have some of them. They've produced them to us under a court protective order. I can't talk about the contents of what I've seen, but they've redacted the information in those records so heavily that it makes those records names of perpetrators, names of elders, names of congregations. We can't tell if this elder has been in more than one congregation. The courts have ordered them to remove these redactions, and they refuse to do that. So this has to get resolved, and we are going to continue to battle to get these documents, and I think those documents will expose a tremendous and a very unfortunate truth.
You said that Umberto was excommunicated essentially. What is he still outside?
They refer to a process or a discipline that they call disfellowshipping. And disfellowshipping is somewhat akin to excommunication. The person is basically shunned by Jehovah's Witnesses, by their congregation, by their family. They are still can attend, they can still come to the kingdom halls, they can sit at meetings, but they're not going to be recognized. They can then apply to be reinstated, and if they, according to the elders to whom they apply, have demonstrated enough remorse, then they can be reinstated. And the one thing about the process, the judicial process, these what they call judicial committees, the discipline that they engage in, if they learn of child sexual abuse, even if it's validated, and they have something they call the two-witness rule, and that's how they determine if there's a valid claim. The two-witness rule means this: either they must have a confession from the perpetrator, or there must be two witnesses to the abuse. If they don't have a confession, or they don't have two witnesses, they can do nothing. Now, even if they do get a confession, or they do get two witnesses, the recourse is to determine if the perpetrator is repentant enough. If he is sufficiently repentant, he will get what is called a private reproof, which means that they will speak with him privately. Some congregation privileges might be removed, but there'll be no more discussion about it to the congregation. If he's somewhat repentant but not repentant enough, he may get what's called a public reproof. So they will make an announcement to the congregation that this individual has been reproved, but they will not say why, and they will take away some privileges. If they feel he's not repentant at all, then they can disfellowship him, or will disfellowship him. But even then, they don't tell the congregation why. So people don't know that there's a potential that a child molester is living and attending meetings and going out on service work, knocking on people's doors in our communities. Don't know that this person could be a child molester. And that's the problem.
With regard to your faith, what do you consider yourself now with regard to the Jehovah's Witnesses? Are you still part of their?
Oh, no. No, I'm atheist. I don't believe in anything.
which is really part of the problem that happens to children that are abused, especially in religious organization. One of the traumas that children experience is institutional betrayal. Because this is their religion, this is their spirituality, and they've been betrayed by something they've been taught is sacrosanct. And that has a tremendous impact on people and children throughout their lives.
So Kevin, your friends who were victimized, were they basically the same age as you?
Yeah, they're around the same age group as me. I think one of them is younger than me by a year or two. The other one is definitely my age.
Can you talk a little bit about the impact it's had on your life?
I tend to block it out, kind of like forget about it, try not to think about it. But every time I drive by Kingdom Hall, memories come back. And I get angry in that moment, but then as I forget about it, it seems to calm down.
When you see other children though that are still going to the Kingdom Halls, what goes through your head?
Oh, I feel bad for them. They're growing up in this cult-like religion. By definition, it's not a cult, but by behavior, it's a cult. So I kind of want to I know there's nothing I can do, but I really wish that they could escape.
¿Puedes decir brevemente en español por lo que has pasado? ¿Cómo empezó? Por favor.
Sí, la forma que empezó es que él era un anciano él tiene autoridad en la congregación y él me daba estudio de la Biblia y después del estudio de la Biblia se movió a predicando por los que van de casa en casa. Y para mí se me hizo normal que él y yo fuéramos solos porque yo veía que gente salían predicando en parejas, pero ahí es cuando empezó los actos de molestación.
¿Qué tipo de actos, corazón?
Tocando y viceversa, para atrás.
¿Durante cuánto tiempo pasó esto y cómo te hizo sentir? ¿Cómo le avisaste a tu familia?
Pasó cuando yo tenía 6 y terminó cuando tenía 8. Terminó cuando yo les dije a mis papás y ellos fueron a hablar con la congregación. Lo que estaba pasando en mi mente es, yo pensé que era normal porque él decía que si no pasaba esto no iba a ir al paraíso, y desde niño te enseñaban que la última meta es ir al paraíso.
¿Qué fue lo que hiciste? ¿Cómo te armaste de valor? ¿En qué tiempo? ¿Y cómo te sientes ahora? ¿Cómo sientes por otros compañeros tuyos que también fueron abusados?
Pues ahorita me siento decepcionado con la gente que no ha llamado a los policías, pero a las víctimas les quiero dar encomio para que salgan a platicar, que hagan justicia.
¿Cómo te hace sentir esta congregación?
Pues no he visto esta congregación en mucho tiempo y no quiero volver a ver esta congregación.
¿Te ha dañado hasta el momento en tu vida personal, matrimonial?
Matrimonial casi no, pero más tristeza, un poco de coraje cuando los veo. Me da coraje porque ¿cómo puede pasar esto? Y que gente, por ejemplo, gente que no tiene nada que ver con ello, pero no llaman al policía, son igual de culpables por no hablar a la autoridad.
Kevin, very quickly, what are your goals in life? What do you want to do?
No, just go to school, continue my education, provide for my family.
Do you have a career in mind?
Probably electrician or HVAC, between those two.
You don't live in the area anymore. You said something about in Finnish that you don't like to go by the same units.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I live far from that.
Yeah.
¿Tú te acuerdas cuál era el edificio donde pasó todo?
Sí, sí.
¿Es el que te enseñamos en el celular
Sí.
que vimos? ¿Es el que te enseñé?
Sí.
Ahí pasó todo.
Sí, pues. Pero pasó no ahí específicamente, pero
Ahí es donde tú ibas.
Ahí es donde yo iba.
Si quieren algún otro comentario en español o un poquito más de información, con todo gusto compartiré unas palabras con ustedes en nombre de la firma de abogados.
¿Quieres entrevistar en vivo? ¿Puedes venir con nosotros, por favor?
Okay, we're finished, everybody?
I'm 26.
26?
26.
And how
I
old
was
is that?
8, third grade.
That's a good question.
No, ya terminó.
How about finish? Should we finish it?